I know crimes. I can smell them. You don't have to smell this one. I can prove it to you 18 different ways. I can prove to you that he won Pennsylvania by 300,000 votes.
Officials and lawmakers in these battlegrounds.
I can prove to you that some sort of paint was dripping down Rudy Giuliani's face right there. One of Donald Trump's former attorneys who right there in front of America was lying about the 2020 election. And as the former guy now faces multiple investigations, he's been having a hard time finding top lawyers to represent him. Now, he's dodged consequences for a very long time, but many of his attorneys, they haven't been so lucky. As the New York Times points out, time after time, his attorneys have been asked to testify as witnesses to potential crimes or evaluated as possible criminal conspirators themselves. So let's discuss. I want to bring in David Enrich, business investigations editor for the New York Times and author of the new book, Servants of the Damned, Giant Law Firms, Donald Trump, and the Corruption of Justice. It's a bedtime story. David, Donald Trump has a history of getting away. I almost said getting away with murder, but getting away with a lot of things. Have things finally caught up with him and lawyers are saying, I don't want to stand next to you?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely the moment we have finally arrived at, and it's a really long time coming.
But isn't that extraordinary? A former president of the United States, wouldn't you think all sorts of conservative lawyers would want to be representing him?
I think that a lot of conservative lawyers are, very practiced in the acts of self-preservation. And this is a man who, for his entire career, going back many decades, has used lawyers as in a way that ends up getting the lawyers in a lot of trouble, if not with the law, then ethically or certainly reputationally. And I think a lot of people are very wary about making that same mistake again right now.
Well, the lawyers he has now, for the most part, are not from top law firms, right, don't have sterling reputations. It's kind of a grab bag of folks. Are they there, even though they might not get paid, which is his track record, because they want the fame and the glory?
It's a good question. I'm not quite sure what makes someone at this point in the process and this point in history decide that the right decision for them is to go represent someone like Trump. I mean, look, everyone's entitled to competent legal counsel, and Trump is included in that. And yet, not everyone is always entitled to the best legal counsel under all circumstances. And so I think that it is a tough road for a lot of lawyers to walk down right now.
But that hasn't always been the case. For a long, long time, there was Jones Day. You write all about it in this book. They aligned themselves with Trump. Speak to us about this.
Yeah, well, Jones Day for more than a century had been this law firm that was the trusted partner for any big corporation that found itself in trouble. And starting several years ago, they decided that in addition to that, they were going to become the law firm of choice for conservative politicians. And they started a practice that was devoted to helping elect Republicans. And one of the first clients they took on with that new practice was Donald Trump. And this was back in early 2015. Trump was his campaign. No one was taking it that seriously. And Jones Day, right from the get-go, started lending him a lot of institutional credibility that he really just couldn't have gotten anywhere else. And this immediately paid dividends for, if not for Jones Day institutionally, then for a lot of the people at the top of the firm who were almost to a man, very conservative, kind of very closely aligned with the Federalist Society. And through the relationship that they forged with Donald Trump, managed to get many of their senior lawyers into the Trump administration, where they exerted enormous sway over the course of national events.
How'd that work out for them? Where are they all now?
For the most part, they're back at Jones Day. Some of them are on the federal bench. Others are working for people like Ron DeSantis. And Jones Day has become, I think, very quietly, but also very effectively, this crucial power center in the conservative movement.
Wow. We often say that after elections, who wins? Lawyers. Then most specifically, was it Jones Day that won the election?
I think certainly they were vaulted into this upper echelon of conservative politics. And, normally you think of lawyers, and I had thought of lawyers as just chasing the almighty dollar. In this case, they were chasing something else, which was power and prestige and really achieving these political ambitions and ideological ambitions that had been out of reach for Republicans and the conservative movement for generations. Jones Day goes into power with Trump, and there are at least their once and future lawyers go into power with Trump, and they achieve many of these ambitions that had been so elusive for so long.
So now still in power, many of them on the federal bench. Where are they with relation to Donald Trump? They're not standing with him now.
Well,
was there a notable rift?
You know, there have been Don McGahn, who was Trump's longtime White House counsel, as a senior partner at Jones Day. He has obviously had a fairly public falling out with the president. But the reality is that, first of all, Jones Day continues to receive fairly substantial legal fees from various Trump political action committees and campaign committees. And to this day, they're still receiving, you look at their FEC filings, it's tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars pouring in. But more important, I think, is that the whole kind of diaspora of Trumpists that are out there either running for office or already in office, many of them, and people like Ron Johnson, Wisconsin, Dr. Oz, and Herschel Walker, many of these people are either directly receiving legal assistance from Jones Day or campaign committees and PACs that are associated with them are. So Jones Day has really managed to spread throughout the conservative movement in a way that is really, I think, very unusual and very powerful.
As I said, a bedtime story. David, thank you so much. Congratulations on your new book.
Thank you.
Again, Servants of the Damned, Giant Law Firms, Donald Trump and the Corruption of Justice. It's out now.